ask questions that occur to you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe prompt us to ask each other questions if something sounds like you want us to fish at each other a little bit.
Okay.
And out of that, just start a first an action scene. Just throw us in the middle of some problem, something we have to deal with. It can be off the cuff, or you can find prompts online. But we'll build the world kind of like we'll zoom into a scene, and then you can build the world out from that scene instead of going the other way.
Okay.
And that's a big part of that whole draw a map but leaves blanks.
Mm-hmm.
Until we look at something, you don't have to worry about defining it. So
cool. I took your advice and did very little to no prep for tonight. So
you're pretty busy too, but this is the sort of game in Monster of the Week too, where you're not going to be called on to do a lot of busy work for the game. At most, some thinking about it during the week, and then at one point sit down and take some notes. Make a few points noted down. But
cool.
I am logged in as the GM right now, or as a GM. I think we all probably are. Once we're ready to play, I'll switch over to playing as to player only. This will let me pop into and out of Jessica's character sheet, my character sheet, and everything. So.
Okay. Cool. Well, who wants to get started?
Should I put mine as a character instead of a GM? Because mine's a GM setting as well too.
You can stay here. Maybe if you stay GM for now, and you can see, like, you can open my character sheet and kind of see the stuff I'm doing as I'm talking about it. But then you and I both go to player once it's ready. Is that cool with you, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me go first on my character.
Okay. On Tina?
Tina. And if you'll note under my bio and info, I've got a picture of my character.
Mm-hmm.
I am Tina, warrior princess. So, yes. I need to pop open the character sheet in another window real quick, the actual playbook, just so I have that as a reference. And so I am Tina. I am playing the playbook of the Barbarian, which is a fantastic playbook I enjoy much.
Okay.
Not full screen, on full page. And starting at the top on the main, main sheet there.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody just clicked over to sub. I'm going to stay at main. I've taken Haunted Eyes,
Mm-hmm.
Long Shanks, Unusual Jewelry, and Scavenger's Outfit for my look.
So Longshanks just means you're kind of tall and lanky, or long, or what do you?
Yeah, I'm picturing that I'm maybe a little on the edge of lanky, where I look like I'd be awkward and clumsy.
Okay.
But I don't think I'm necessarily awkward. I think it's like just a little too big to be like a pilot. You know how like so maybe yeah, tall, a little on the skinny side, but I'm not weak by any means.
And human?
I am a human. For Barbarian, the racial move doesn't really depend on what your race is, because what defines you is that you come from another culture.
Right.
And so even though the racial move is there, it doesn't matter whether I'm human, halfling, whatever. But I am human. The stat array that I chose was I've got a 16 Constitution, 15 Strength, 13 Charisma, 12 Dexterity, 9 Wisdom, 8 Intelligence. I dropped my Intelligence to the bottom to give Jessica's Wizard plenty of room to be the smart, bookish one. I've got a few moves that I want to talk about real quick. Full Plate and Packing Steel. If I wear any armor, I don't have a clumsy tag. I don't like, I can wear like plate mail and walk around in it. But I also have one called Unencumbered Unharmed. As long as I don't wear armor or carry a shield and I'm below my max load, I get +1 to armor. And so if you notice toward the top of my sheet, I have 1 armor.
Mm-hmm.
I think, let me just double check. Yeah, I'm not carrying a shield or wearing armor, so I just have 1 armor basically from that move. Herculean appetites. I've not chosen what my appetites are. I want to wait until we hear about Jessica's character.
Okay.
But once we do, I'll choose 2 out of pure destruction, power over others, mortal pleasures, conquest, riches and property, or fame and glory. I'll choose 2 of those.
Okay.
I have a move called the upper hand. If I die and have to make a last breath roll, I'll get a +1 on that roll. And normally on a 7 to 9 on last breath, death makes the offer to me, and it's up to me to accept. But for barbarians, I get to make an offer to death, and if death accepts. I really dig that stylistically for Dungeon World. It kind of reminds me of when Socrates was to be executed. He asked, or when he's going to be punished, he was asked what his means of execution should be, and they said, "Oh, you should build statues to me and feed me for the rest of my life." Like, when you ask somebody what for them to make that first offer, it puts me in a position of I might ask death for too much or way too little and lose that chance that a 7-9 gives me, instead of putting the DM in the position to make that first offer. I have muscle bound. While I wield a weapon, it gains the forceful and messy tags. So as long as I'm using a weapon to attack somebody or damage somebody, forceful means it'll knock things back, knock them around, tip things over. Messy means it'll break things, it'll sever arteries. It's just tends to be gorish, or like if I kick over, if I smash open a door with my sword, it'll blow up into splinters and stuff. Doesn't necessarily do damage, but it'll tear up the terrain, and tend to be very loud and bombastic. Mm-hmm. And then finally, my last move is what are you waiting for? Basically, I cry out a challenge to enemies. I roll plus my constitution, and if I roll really well, they'll see me as the main threat and choose me to ignore everybody else. And on a 10 plus, they all do that, and I take +2 damage that I deal against them. On a 7 to 9, only a few, either the weakest or most foolhardy among them, fall for my taunting. The others could still attack Jessica or whoever else. And I chose that move basically to be the tank. Be in a position to tank and keep some pressure off Jessica.
Cool.
I'm going to switch to the sub sheet. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me.
I have a question about your stats a little bit.
Okay.
I wouldn't have guessed that a barbarian would go charisma for the 13. What did you have in mind roleplay wise for why your person is so charming?
So I initially had 13 in Dex and 12 in charisma. And the guidance there was I wanted intelligence and wisdom in my dump stats, and let Jessica kind of field the thinky portions of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started thinking I have some rough ideas for a backstory that I once we speak them, they'll kind of become her backstory, and I'll answer questions and we can get into those. But roughly, I think she's somebody who's kind of had a wide and varied life. I think she probably, depending on when you hear from her, she tells completely colorful stories. She's been a slave, she's been a princess, she's been like all these sorts of different things, and there's like kind of a bit of a bard to her.
Okay.
And I get the feeling that she comes from a culture that it's like oral tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not necessarily that she's particularly striking looking or particularly friendly, but she can stand up and do like an oration and really take attention.
Just like a force of personality, basically.
Yeah, and I think that kind of matches with that last move. I think she just kind of knows how to get the crowd. So that whole "what are you waiting for?" I think is kind of building off of that. So
cool.
And let's see. I haven't chosen bonds yet, of course. Those we'll work on with Jessica once we hear about her character. I want to hold off on the alignment until we hear from Jessica. Let's see what kind of theme she wants to go for here. Gear that I carry, I have 2 full sets of dungeon rations, so 10 total. We've got a token of where I've traveled from or where I've been. And I think what I have is a broken crown that I've variously described to. I've described it as being my crown when I was a queen or princess, or it was my father's crown or my aunt's crown. Like people have heard me give it in I don't know whether Jessica's character knows the truth about it. I haven't decided what it is yet, but I've described it in all sorts of ways. But maybe sometimes when we're sitting in the bar, I'll put that crown on and start my orations. But it's kind of a broken, like all the gems have been knocked off. It's made out of precious metal, but it's not like gold. It's probably like electrum or something. I've got my adventuring gear. I think I wear lots of jewelries and bangles and stuff all over me, and I've got pouches. I wear probably a mix of animal skins and streetwear and not armor, but like leathers and stuff, and pouches kind of everywhere. And I just have odds and ends poked everywhere. My adventuring gear is just kind of stowed about my person. I have a great big two-handed sword across my back, and I carry a dagger probably in my belt.
Is the dagger a weapon that you throw, or is it a weapon that you use in your hands, or is it kind of a last resort type of a thing?
I think it's generally I don't see her doing a whole lot of throwing, although I mean she could throw the dagger, but I think it's mainly like her eating, scratching at things, cleaning her fingernails. Like it's like a tool.
Okay.
That can be weaponized. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of so I'm just kind of waiting on Bond's alignment and my Herculean appetites until we've heard from Jessica.
Okay. And then I'll have more questions for you after we talk a little bit about Jessica's character. So tell me about Janka.
Unlike Andrew, unlike Tina, I haven't actually done too much on the character development on mine, so I've been kind of trying to catch up, basically, while you guys were discussing it. So it's a wizard. I found a picture for her. Basically kind of sharp eyes in the sense that she's pretty young and naive and is kind of constantly always looking at stuff. And so things just catch her by surprise. So the smallest detail she'll notice quite easily. Mm-hmm. She's strange in attire, wears really weird robes that are kind of steampunk in nature. And she kind of tries to keep a nice appearance to herself, so she has styled hair of stuff that's not of the correct century. So more like 50s type of hairstyle as opposed to the era that we live in.
Sure. She's a hipster.
She's kind of short. Yeah, exactly. So she's also short, pudgy. I went ahead and I did the strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, and wisdom. So she's she has wisdom. Her biggest strength is wisdom. Her weakness, I guess, is charisma. So she's not really good at getting people to do what she wants them to do. I went ahead and picked the race of elf, and I haven't done anything more than that.
Let me ask a couple of questions. Sorry, I'm writing things down to make sure I don't forget any of my questions.
I have one as well.
Go ahead.
Maybe after. I just want to make sure that Jessica was mindful. Generally, the wizard's or the wizard's spellcasting move comes off of intelligence.
Uh-huh.
And so it's fine to do wisdom first, but I also see intelligence below 15, below the dex.
Okay.
You'll be rolling that wisdom quite a bit for your spellcasting. If you have it at a lower modifier.
The intelligence.
Yeah. Every time you get a fail, you do get an experience point. So it's not necessarily a bad idea if you like the way the characters develop around wisdom and dex. That works. But just so you know, the intelligence is what you would roll every time you cast a spell.
Okay.
That said, I think it's a good decision. I would maybe put a 15 in intelligence so that at level 2 you could bump it up to 16 also. Or you could put...
I'll go ahead and just... yeah, that's what I did. 16 intelligence, 15 wisdom, and 13 dex.
Okay. Well, that takes one of my questions because I was just going to ask about the array because I thought it was interesting, but this is interesting as well. Second question, sort of like what I asked Andy. I don't know who this Andrew person is that you're talking about, but sort of like what I asked him. So your charisma is an 8. Is she really, really shy? Is she awkward? Is she sort of rude and off-putting? Like what makes her not so charismatic?
I imagine that for this character, because her appearance is so bizarre, people automatically jump to the assumption that she's snooty and like looks down on everybody.
Okay.
But in reality, she just kind of keeps to herself for the most part. So she's kind of quiet.
Okay.
And people perceive it as conceited, I guess.
Okay. And then this is, I guess, a question for both of you guys. Jessica mentioned that part of her style is sort of a steampunky kind of a thing. So I guess the question is, does that sort of technology exist in this world? Are there steam-powered clocks and, faucets and I would want to stay away from vehicles probably unless you guys are into it, but are there, do people have pocket watches that they pull out and like little pieces of technology that would add flavor to the world? Or do they not? Is your stuff not functional? It's just more of a style thing.
What's your thought, Jessica?
Well, for my character, I think she's just eclectic. So it's probably something that goes with her being a wizard, not so much as its common day appearance in the world. So maybe it might just be like a wizarding thing. But I do know that Tina has a little bit of Metal Gear on her clothes too. So
maybe because the elves are so long-lived, there's some sort of like an Atlantean past civilization that used this sort of tech. The elves focused maybe more on magic, but there was some human or other group that were more of the tech. And the elves had some trade with them, but now that group is gone for whatever reason, pretty much only the elves have troves or know where the ruins were. So maybe what you've got are some remnants from a long lost civilization. Would that work for you, Jessica?
Yeah.
And so maybe when you cast some of your spells, like you could invoke, like, oh, I'm doing a magic missile. I've got this thing that looks kind of like a flashlight, but it shoots these deadly beams. Or like you could maybe work your tech into the class.
Okay.
That could be really cool. That could be cool. That could be cool if I can talk. Awesome. So we need to select moves, I guess. And then bonds in alignment for you as well.
Okay.
And Andy, if you want to help me and Jessica kind of walk through the creation of her character, since you have done this
Sure.
a million times more. Like, for example, I'm not totally clear on how we figure out what her starting hit points are and things like that.
So in a separate window, I'm going to have the wizard playbook. There's in the journal, there's under Assassin Mind, there's characters folder and then linked character sheets. And in that, we can kick open the wizard. And that's where I'm going to get some of the basic information, like what her starting hit points and all that stuff are. I'm not going to actually do any of this stuff just to give Jessica the chance to do it in the character sheet.
Right.
But I see that we have the starting moves, hack and slash, volley, parley. It's all down there under some blank moves that are already expanded. You see that, Jessica? You have some that there's like a little minus above them. If you click them, they'll expand or collapse.
I was looking at yours. Hold on.
And if need be, I can share my screen that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I see it as well.
For the moves?
Yeah.
The little minus is... Yeah.
So if we go down here, can you see on my screen, is it showing the character sheet? Let's see if I'm... Can you see my mouse moving around? I'm not sure if it's working or not.
I see it.
Okay.
If you click here on this modify, it should open up little trash cans next to all the moves we don't want. And you pretty much want to keep all these hack and slash, volley, all these down. But the stuff above.
I think you have the wrong screen open. I'm just seeing the main character sheet.
I chose the wrong. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let me stop and do a different one. Roll 20. Okay, now is it the right one?
Yes.
Yeah.
And can you see where my mouse is going?
Mm-hmm.
So if you click that modify, that should show you little trash cans next to the stuff we want to delete.
Mm-hmm.
And I would delete all the blank ones.
Okay.
And then it looks like we have an extra hack and slash also.
Darn it, hack and slash. That's probably what she's mostly going to be doing as a wizard, though. Hacking and slashing.
I've seen some really cool spins on wizards. I think one that I really enjoyed was a guy who took human as his race, which gave him a cleric spell, and he took raise dead, and he would or speak with dead, and then he would animate a bunch of dead, and he was just like this really cool necromancer. But he's based on who's the professor from drama, Farnsworth.
Okay.
He's very much a Professor Farnsworth version of a necromancer. It's pretty cool. Okay, so in our spell book, Jessica, you start with 3 first level spells. So if you click on that link to see the mage spell book or the wizard, you can choose 3 spells from the first level. There's 7 total. And what I would want to do is put those in your spell book. I can bring you a printed copy of the sheet too if you'd like. And if you just told me the names of them, I could copy and paste them pretty easy from the PDF.
Okay, let me just look at the spell book because going between all of these is...
Yeah, I'm on a dual screen setup here, which makes it a lot easier. What I'm going to do in the meantime, if it's okay, I'd like to go ahead and just put your cantrips in for you.
Okay.
And you get all the cantrips, right?
Yeah. And the cantrips always start prepared whenever she prepares spells.
Right.
The cantrips plus she'll have to select specific first level spells, but the cantrips all start. And now when she casts cantrips, she does also cast a spell. I used to have some confusion about you have to roll when you do a first level spell. You have to also for cantrip, and yeah, it should be.
So you could fumble on a cantrip.
You could fumble on a cantrip, and you can fumble on a spell when there's when it's not in combat. There's no danger. When they attract unwanted attention, it doesn't have to be combat related. It could be any sort of thing coming in to bug them. Oh, did I just put it from the main screen to the sub? I'm sorry.
No, that was me.
I was working on spells. Well, no, I think I undid what you were doing. Have you looked at the spell list?
I was...
First level spells?
I'm going...
And if it would help, I'll go ahead and copy and paste, you chose the elf racial, detect magic as a cantrip for you. I'm going to go ahead and copy that into the racial move.
Oh, that's nice. So you don't have to pick that spell.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't even put that in there. Let me do that real quick. Can I go back to your spellbook, Jessica?
I'm sorry?
Can I go back to your spellbook?
Sure.
And if you let me know if there's something that's causing some frustration, like something you're trying to get a hold of, let me know and I can maybe be helpful with it. So it's not too... Or he'd come into the kitchen there and see what's going on.
Prestidigitation.
You want me to read the spells to you by name, or what? I want to get a sense of what's going on.
How many? You said I get 3 spells, right?
Yeah, and I'm getting that out of your first move spellbook,
Yeah.
where it says you have mastered several spells and inscribed them in your spellbook. You start out with 3 first-level spells in your spellbook, as well as the cantrips. Whenever you gain level, you add a new spell of your level or lower to your spellbook. So you'll choose 3. So you already have Detect Magic. So out of the first level spells, you've got Contact Spirits, Telepathy, Charm Person, Invisibility, Magic Missile, and Alarm.
And I don't want to sway you towards anything, but if you want to sort of talk through what they are and what you would use and what you wouldn't want to use with me and Andrew, like the spells that you have. It sounds so weird to call you Andrew.
You can call me Andy.
The spells that you.
I go by Andy at the
the spells that you have could, inform how you and Tina the Warrior Princess work together, right? So if you just want to kind of workshop with all of us, which ones you want to pick? Again, I don't want to influence you, but I'm happy to help. I would think if you took telepathy, it would be a lot like your character in our game. So I would avoid that if it were me, but just to do something different.
Babe, do you have a paper one by chance? Because I'm getting confused by all this.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me bring you the book right now, or the paper. Give me one moment.
He's like super organized with his game, so he has a binder already with excessive books pages.
Here's the wizard.
Okay, thanks.
Don't show him the book.
Hey Jess, can I see the book? Can you be holding it up to the camera when he sits down? I just want him to see that you're showing me when he sits down. All right, I don't need to see the book anymore. I've seen what I need.
She didn't show you this one. That has a bunch of resources for Dungeon World. This is all just Dungeon World stuff. There's the Playbooks of the Dead. It's a fantastic bonnet.
The fantastic what? Bonnet?
Funnel World for making a bunch of, like, each person runs 3 or 4 0-level characters through a meat grinder kind of game. You just call out what you want me to paste in for you, Jessica, and I'd be glad to do it on this.
Hey, question for you guys. I know if we click on things on her character sheet while she's working on it, it moves it for all of us. If I navigate in the other tabs, do you guys see that as well?
Try going for it. Like right now, I'm looking at character sheet, spellbook.
Oh, okay. So I have like the index open now. You guys don't see that?
No.
Okay.
So Jessica, let's start on the first page of the character sheet. You want to do that real quick? Just kind of look at that printed page.
Okay.
From the character sheet, you should see on the front page the wizard's damage. It should say
4.
D4. Okay. So here on the screen where it says damage, next to look, it shows a D4. For hit points, it should tell you your maximum HP is something plus Constitution.
Max HP is 4 plus Constitution.
Okay. And so your Constitution is 9. So here in the hit points box, I'm going to put a 13. And then I'm going to put you set at 13 HP. So that takes care of that. Look at the alignments and tell me which alignment you like.
Neutral.
So I'm going to copy and paste discover something about a magical mystery. So that kind of gives that reminder. For race, I already did the elf. Magic is natural as breath to you. Detect magic is a cantrip for you. So we got that.
Right.
We're going to ignore global modifiers. We really don't have anything to select for your moves, except for the 3 spells in the spell book. Do you have any bonds that you want to choose for Tina, Warrior Princess, yet?
Is willfully misinformed about the world. I will teach them all I can.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that into your bond.
Are you guys going to each take 1 bond for each other?
Yeah, I think probably to start. And then kind of look through your spell book real quick. I'm going to go back to my barbarian bonds and make the last few of my decisions. And I think all we'll have left to do is, after we do our spells, we'll do the stuff on the back of her sheet, which includes like gear and stuff. But that'll go pretty quick.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to take 2 bonds for Jessica's character. You have a name yet, Jessica?
Jenka Vales.
Are you going to stick with... Oh, yeah, that is yours. I'm sorry. I was thinking that was the creative one with those veils, right?
Yeah.
First bond is Jenka Vales are strange. Jenka Vales' ways are strange and confusing. And second is Jenka Vales is always getting into trouble. I must protect her from herself. And I am using the her pronoun. I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you looked at your spells? Do you know which ones Jenka would have in her spellbook?
Yeah. She's gonna have alarm.
No, we might have. Oh, wait, I'm looking at Tina. That's why I'm not seeing him. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste over alarm.
Magic missile.
Magic missile.
Mm. How about charm person?
Yeah, I guess an interesting choice with you have a fairly low charisma, and so there might be some really interesting moments where like somebody's charmed by you, and like onlookers, like what do they see in her?
Exactly.
And so the wizard, you have in your spell book, you have that you can have 3, 3 spells, right?
Right.
However, you can only prepare your class level number or level of spells per day. So your first level character, so you have to choose one of these 3 spells that's prepared. You also always have your cantrips prepared when you first start. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So which of these spells would you have prepared?
Magic missile.
Magic missile.
Magic
missile.
At the darkness. So I don't know if I've just checked or unchecked prepared for that one. I'm not sure.
You unchecked it. I got it though.
Okay. Okay. And then we need to put down the damage for magic missile. You do 2d4 damage to one target. So where it says roll, we need to put 2 in the d4. Gonna put the 2 there.
Done.
Okay. And then I'm not sure, does it give you a button to actually roll that? Oh yeah. So I think if you just click on the title of Magic Missile, it'll roll it for you. Okay, so it didn't roll the cast a spell, but it did roll the damage. If you hover over it, it says 2d4 plus 0, and it shows you roll 2 3s.
Cool.
So when you cast Magic Missile, you would then flip over to here and click that button. If it would help, I can start working on some macros for the spells that you have to like roll damage for, to do both the cast a spell move and the actual spell itself.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my suggestion then would be to go through to the gear and load that's also on this page.
Okay.
So
These
under gear,
characters, these character sheets are really cool.
yeah, the programming they've done in here is top notch. I'm happy with it. So under gear, what does it say for your load?
0.
7
No,
plus
7.
Plus
strength.
STR. I'm going to clip to main real quick just to verify that your strength is a plus 0. I think it is. Strength of 12 is plus 0. So if you bring that up to a 13, you would end up having an additional load. But your current load is going to be 7.
Does the spell book count against load?
Yeah. And so it actually says you start with your spell book, 1 weight. So I'm going to add a spell book. And under weight, I'm going to add 1. Quantity, we have 1. And value, we don't have anything about value. And I've gone ahead and added it as an equipped item. I don't think it really needs to be, but you pretty much will always have it available, hopefully. And then we need to choose. Oh, and you also start with dungeon rations. For tags, I'm going to go 5 uses. Quantity 1, weight 1.
And rations essentially, are they just used to keep it from starving, or do they heal you, or what?
They're used to track days, like outside. Like if you have to travel for 3 days, it costs 3 rations. It's basically a day's worth of food. They're not used for healing, but you'll see down below she has healing potion available. There are healing potions, poultices, bandages. Like you can buy stuff to do, or if you just make camp, you heal up half your hit points. So,
got it.
Jessica, you have to choose your defense. Do you wear leather armor, or do you carry a bag of books and 3 healing potions?
Bag of book and 3 healing potions. Wait. Yeah.
Looks like bag of books. Oh, you already put it in there, or did I put that in there?
No, I did.
Okay, you're getting. So I'm gonna leave it alone. For weight, put 2. And this is a really cool thing. Whenever you do a spout lore, which is where you roll your intelligence to see if you know about a thing, if you use one of your books, what you do is you get a +1 to spout lore, and then you name that book and you add it to your inventory on its own, and you drop the number of bag of books. You go down to 4 uses, but you would still have, like, if you had to know about spider poisons, I have Bob's Big Book of Spider Poisons. You add that to your inventory separately, and you now have a book on spider poisons if you're looking at.
And you can go back.
+1 to your spout lore.
And you can go back and use that anytime you need to know about spider poisons.
Yeah, it becomes a thing and that kind of helps shape a trend of the sorts of things maybe that you've studied. Or
got it. Because I was just about to ask what kind of books you have around, but I won't do that now.
Yeah, a lot of those things we leave. That's kind of why I left it very ambiguous, like what the truth is about Tina, because I don't really know. But while we play, we might figure out if she was a princess or all that stuff. You didn't choose whether or not you have. Well, when you get your bag of books, you also get 3 additional healing potions.
Oh.
But you might, if you choose healing potions, down below it has healing potion or antitoxins. You might just have 4 healing potions. That might be your choice.
You went staff?
Yeah.
Good call.
I would make that equipped also, because when you roll your damage, you're going to want that to apply.
So
the
is
damage, you're going to put 0. It doesn't do any additional damage. It just does your normal D4.
okay.
And put the weight at 1. And your bag of books, I'm going to change that. You have it as armor. I would change it to item. We don't want to confuse it and add any weird armor value. And then the final thing, choose, do you want a healing potion, which you already have 3? Do you want a 4th healing potion, which is pretty useful, or do you want some antitoxins, which can also be useful?
I'll put antitoxins.
Okay. So then we do need to add your 1 healing potion, or your 3 healing potions that you got from your earlier trips too.
I'm sorry, added.
Oh, it is?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing healing potions.
I see 3 antitoxins.
Yeah.
I just say bag and 3 healing potions.
Oh, I would do it separate from the bag of books. Yeah. I see where you have it in your name now. I would do it separately. I do the bag of books and then separately align, just like 3 antitoxins, align for 3 healing potions. And that's pretty much going to be it for character creation. Now I'm going to close her sheet on my end, and I'm going to rejoin as a player. That way I can only see my character sheet, whatever Josh chooses to show us.
If I close Jenka sheet, will it just close it on my screen?
Yes. And also, if Jessica stays as a GM, if you switch the players from one screen to another one, she won't get moved with it. Okay. So I would recommend Jessica join as a player, or no, if she wants to stay as GM, let her know what screen to look at.
Got it.
But it can be a problem if you want to put stuff on the GM layer, she'd see it. It's better, I think, for a player to be on the player though. Yeah.
Okay. I have a couple more questions for you guys whenever she is all set.
And I also have my, at the beginning of a session, I have my race move.
Right.
My outsider. So whenever you're to actually start playing, that's the first step.
Okay.
All right.
And that's the outsider move. I ask you a specific question. You don't just volunteer a piece of information, right?
That's correct. You ask a question, I can choose to answer it or not. If I don't answer it, that's the end of it. If I do answer it, then I get an XP. Then if I choose not to answer it, either I would want to make up some compelling reason, or I'm being a dick by negating your overture toward something about the character. Like it might be interesting, like, oh no, you're asking about that, like, oh, Tina would never talk about that. And it's okay, no XP, but you don't answer it. But if I just like, I'm not interested in answering that question, let's get on with the game, then just tell me I'm being a dick.
Okay. Can I just tell you that anyways?
Oh yeah, I am.
Okay. You're not, though. You're being lovely. Okay. So, I mean, we have your bonds, but why do you guys run together? Are you like mercenaries? Are you just adventurers who kind of go from place to place and job to job? Are you, Tina, literally Jenka's muscle and bodyguard, and she's got some job, and you go around with her to protect her? Like, what's the dynamic between you guys? Or do we want to figure that out over time?
I would want to hear Jessica's before I go too far in it, but there's definitely going to be a figuring of that out over time. Like, we don't need to answer it fully right now,
Right.
and that's where the bonds will play out. And so, just to repeat my bonds for Jessica's pleasure, Tina's perspective is that Jenka Vale's ways are strange and confusing, and Jenka Vale's always getting into trouble. I must protect her from herself. So, what is our relationship like? How do you see it, Jessica, between us?
There had to have been something in our past where like we crossed paths where you saw me do something obviously really stupid and felt like you had to save me for some reason, I would think. And that's why my ways are strange and why you feel like you have to protect me. So
you got yourself into trouble somehow, and Tina was there to kind of step in and...
I'm kind of picturing a scene maybe where there were some people insisting that Jenka like turn over some bubble, and it was something. Are you interested in your magic coming from kind of baubles? And I mean, you're casting spells, but like, do you use all the little steampunky stuff as part of it?
yeah.
So I'm thinking like, maybe somebody was demanding like, oh, hand that over, and I thought it was just some little trash, but you like fiercely fought to protect it. And I was curious about that, so I jumped into the fight also. And I kind of like, I think you're touched in the head, but I've chosen for my Herculean pursuits or appetites, riches and property, and fame and glory. And I think like you have a keen eye for like the weird, cool shit that makes somebody famous. And if I can follow you around and keep you alive, I'll that's going to be my path to like fame and richness. So like you're the destined one, and I want to be there to reap the treasure too.
Got it. Okay. So she's more than just a means to an end. Like there's like a level of respect there as well. Or is she just a means to an end?
I think she it's kind of like attaching yourself to an artist, like a photographer, because you like the pictures they take. I don't necessarily at this point, when we first start, value Tina so much as I value her ability to like choose the right score or like find, as we're searching through the pile of rubble, to figure out what's actually valuable or interesting.
Got it.
Then maybe during play, I'll develop that, like actually care for her. But right now, I'm just like trying to protect my investment. Like I don't want her to die, because then this adventure ends for me and I have to find somebody else to shadow for a while. Does that sound good, Jessica?
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
What's your perspective for Tina? Is she in the way or helpful or?
Are you human, or what race are you?
Oh, you're muted.
I am a human.
There.
I'm a human.
Okay.
Your camera's off now as well, and you're muted.
I'm eating some soup.
Gross.
I'm gonna probably say that I've spent quite a bit of my life hanging out with elves, and so humans are a different species, something that I'm not really aware of. So I have a little bit of respect for her because she came and helped me with those people, but also just because she's kind of strange. She's a human, and I'm not too sure what all they can do. So
maybe you see a little bit of a outsider in her as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd definitely be different from a lot of the humans that you have dealt with too. Like I'm a novelty amongst the novelties. I was worried I was going to be going into token land there for a moment, but you swerved left out of that. You're one of the good ones, Tina.
Wow. Tina. Okay. And Tina, I'm going to ask you a question about your society that you come from, your homeland. I guess I'll just take one from the move. What made you leave?
I think the group I come from, it's probably like a series of different like nomadic tribes are always at war, and I'm picturing something kind of like the Arabic Peninsula before the conquest of like the Muslims, or before the development of Islam, when just a lot of tribalism. They had enough resources and pockets that they'd kind of compete over those pockets, right? Big open areas, and then there'd be like the watering hole where the animals would congregate, and so you try and control that. So life was hard scrabble, and at some point I came across a caravan, like, holy shit, those people are all like fat, and they smell different, they eat interesting foods, and eventually I'm going to go to wherever they're coming from and see what that's all about, because I don't want to constantly be at war for water. If I could be at war for jewels and gold,
For shinies.
Yeah. So for flight, basically tying into my Herculean appetites, the pursuit of riches and property is what drove me out of the place where you're really just fighting for bones. So I'm going to work in XP, if that's okay.
Yep.
So yeah, Jessica, that's how it's done.
Demanding XPs from the GM?
No XP for you.
No soup for you.
Riches and property, fame, glory. Okay. And so I basically want to find excuses to present you with those things that you sort of yearn for.
Yeah, like if I do a move that leaves you in a position to construct a move. Let's say I do defy danger. I try and dive out of the way of an attack, and I roll a 7 to 9. Okay, so yeah, you can make it out of the way, but like the incoming arrow is going to destroy that vase, and you can get like 30 gold for that vase, or 300 gold or whatever. Like you put me in a position where, like, oh, am I willing to put myself in front of an arrow to get that property?
Right.
Yeah, if you kill everyone at this camp, nobody's going to know it was you. Like, do you leave somebody alive and risk that it'll bring the law down on you? But they'll see your tail. So yeah.
Got it. Okay. So you guys are both on the title screen right now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Affirmative.
I took one other bit of advice from Andy. Did I just move myself there? There we go.
I see the. Yeah, you moved us there also.
Okay. So just visually, I have just 4 scenes there. What kind of countryside have the two of you been traveling in recently?
Jessica, I'd like to defer to you for your first comment.
I would say either like the top forest or like the desert. Those are my 2 picks.
Let me say that my people come from a fairly arid area, like the desert, and so that's in the achievable travel distance. But I'll put us in the top forest. Is that okay?
Okay, sure.
So the desert's nearby if just wants to explore that. But for now, I'm where there's water.
You are here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. By the way, that's a picture of Hoosier National Forest. So that's from Indiana. It's like it's southern Indiana. It's like down by Bloomington.
Okay.
All right.
So did that tree make a sound when it fell?
Oh.
There's nobody around. There's nobody around.
Is that desert Indiana Dunes State Park?
No.
There's more than corn in Indiana.
That's the Sahara Desert.
Okay.
And this is somewhere in Alaska, and this is a drawing.
I really thought that was somewhere in Antarctica.
I caught the Mike Myers Simon Does Drawings intonation there, but that should all be through a hotel window if it was Simon.
Okay. So if I'm leading too much or if I'm kind of forcing too much, let me know. But we'll just set the scene and say the two of you have been running together for a while, indeterminate amount of time. We can decide that later on. We'll talk about sort of your goals and why you're traveling together. We'll figure that out as well. But to sort of pass the time and to make a little bit of coin to live on, you've been known to take a job here and there, just so that you can sustain yourselves. You can buy rations, shelter, so on and so forth. And currently, you are escorting a caravan. It's a caravan that left a small town of about 500 people 2 days ago. We won't subtract from your rations. We're just setting the scene. And it is transporting just general goods, nothing that you're aware of that's of any extreme value. Just, food, furs, farming goods, basically. This is from a small farming community. We're going to a larger city. We're about a day and a half out from the city. And the two of you are just traveling with this caravan, mainly because Tina has been hired to sort of act as muscle, has to act as security. And Jenka, you've proven that you're useful as well. Have the two of you struck up conversation, made friends with anybody, made acquaintances with anybody on this caravan? Or have you been pretty much keeping to yourself?
Tina would be very gregarious, especially with the hired help, like the Teamsters. I don't know if there's like a wealthy employer on the job or if it's just the hired help. But I think anybody who goes into the different inns and bars in all these towns along the way, I tell them all about my exploits with the hope that my name will get carried from bar to bar, and that leads to more jobs in the future.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm being very gregarious.
Mostly with the what you'd call the blue collar workers, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and this isn't. Sorry, go ahead.
I think I build up Jenka's mystique also, and Jessica, stop me if I presume too much, but I think I am even willing to annoy Jenka a little bit with like really hyping. Like I make up outrageous stories about badass things she's done, to try and be like, oh yeah, she's weird and she's a little off-putting. Like she won't make eye contact with you, but I've seen her kill like 2 dudes riding a direwolf once with like just a stare. Like you don't want that eye contact.
Yeah,
So-
I'd probably be annoyed at you saying stuff like that. It makes it even harder for me to have opportunities to try to talk to people.
Oh no, I've completely misread that you actually wish you could talk to people. I'm just building these bigger and talk blocking you.
And as the days go by on this like 4 to 5 day journey, Jenka, you're noticing people are giving you a little bit of a wider berth day in and day out.
Mm-hmm.
People are keeping their distance a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and just to reiterate, this isn't like a merchant caravan. These are simple people. It's farmers, and a lot of the hired help, the other people who are protecting them are, the eldest son of such and such farmer, or the apprentice for this tanner. It's not, city guards or anything. This is a small kind of a homestead of a place. The two of you are by far the most able of the people escorting this caravan. So it's, we're getting towards dusk on day 3. So we're a day and a half ish. You might get there midday, 2 days from now. You'll get to your destination. We're starting to get towards dusk, and you're traveling through this young forest. It's thin trees. Tina, you feel like you could probably give a good hack and cut through most any one of these. They're not like redwoods or anything, but pretty comparable to what you see in the picture. And nighttime is approaching. Sorry, I want to look at moves real quick because I'm about to. Where's my cheat sheet with moves on it? Okay, there we go. So, Andy, question. If I'm like trying to see if you guys notice something, is there a roll that I would have you guys make, or?
No, there's really no thing like a spot check here.
Okay.
If there are people, like if there's an ambush set up,
okay,
what you often would want to do is set up like some soft moves. Like, yeah, there's some thing, as you're going forward, like you just passed down a tree that was cut down and there's marks, like it was clearly dragged somewhere up ahead of where you're going.
Okay.
And then we would we would potentially go for like a discern realities type check to see if we notice it. And if we fail that, the ambush hits us.
Got it. Okay.
But you're also free to just ambush the shit out of this and make us respond to that.
No. So you're traveling through the forest. Dusk is coming. It's a typical forest. You're hearing birds. You're hearing rustling in the branches. And as you're guessing you're maybe 30 minutes from camp, things just get quiet. You don't hear birds chirping anymore. You don't hear cicadas in the trees anymore. It's just eerie almost that things get really, really still. All you hear is the creak of the wagon wheels, the clops of the mules' feet, the occasional conversation of a couple of the kids young adults as they're kind of walking alongside the carts.
I'm going to kind of noting like the eeriness. I'm going to look to the horses and just see if they like are acting nervously. Because my thought is like there's a predator, like maybe there's a bear or wolf or something stalking through. So I'm just seeing that the horses are like sniffing at the air or anything.
So the caravan that you're in is 6 carts long. Each cart has, well, either horses or mules, depending on the wealth of the particular farmer that has that cart. And the horses in the front are continuing on. The horses in the back are continuing on. But the 2 carts in the middle, the horses just seem agitated. They're not sniffing at the air or anything, but they just start to kind of nicker and start to kind of rustle against the reins a little bit.
I'm going to snap toward Jenka, like, hey, like, what's going on there?
I don't know. But it looks like there's been some people that have traveled down that path from a little bit of the tracking that I can see. But I don't know if it was recent or maybe just a week ago.
Yeah, and the path that you're on is not, you're not like roughing it through rough terrain. This is a well-worn path between the village that you're coming from and the larger town that you're going to.
So, Jessica, you might, if you like, there's a trigger for discern realities when you closely study a situation or person. You have a chance to ask questions from a list, kind of like investigate a mystery and monster of the week.
Right.
And so it's on the basic moves. It's also on your character sheet in Roll20, but it's not on the wizard sheet that you have in the printed book. So I could go for it with Tina, but I think it's probably Jenka who's better and more practiced at like noticing stuff. Like once the problem's in front of us, I hit it with my sword. But until then.
Okay, so then I'm going to discern reality.
But like tell Josh how you'd go about it. And when you trigger it, then he'll say, okay, cool. Like what do you do to closely study it?
maybe I like squat down and I'm like inspecting the leaves on the ground and the marking of like the footprints in the dirt and inspecting the trees to see the cuts that have been done with a sword or with a blade of some sort.
Okay, so go ahead and make your roll.
I don't know what to.
Click on the word discern realities on your character sheet.
Oh, right.
Okay, so you get to ask me one question.
Is it specific to the discern realities, or is it just a question of my own?
Look in Roll20, and you'll see your roll of 8. You'll see the effect as you ask the GM one question from the list below,
okay.
and then there's the list. Michael watching Daddy GM.
What's that?
Is Michael watching you GM?
He is next to me, laying like this, in a onesie that has vegetables all over it. And whenever he wakes up, I'll need to feed him real quick, but we can take a quick break at that point.
All right. Okay. So, what should I be on the lookout for?
Okay. As you put your hand down on the path and you start to kind of push some of the fallen leaves and some of the brush aside, something smooth catches your fingers, and there's you pick up like a little rusty metal buckle. Not like a belt buckle. It's smaller. It's like a little tiny buckle. Really poorly made. But it wasn't like buried. It wasn't covered up with hoof prints or anything. This is fallen on the path really recently, and it's made by something that is very close. Somebody's near here. The people don't see it. You don't necessarily see it, but the horses know. Somebody or something that makes things with tools is close by. Okay. And hiding, because it's not, I mean, you're not seeing it, right?
Right.
Is that something, are you kind of keeping that info to yourself, or are you letting Tina know? Are you letting the other people in the caravan know?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to pick up the belt buckle and I'll look at Tina and I'll let her know that I found a small little buckle in the little pathway ahead of us. So someone's traveled here quite recently. I don't know what type of creature or animal or whether it's human or a monster that might have what it comes from, but nonetheless, it comes from a creature that can create things out of, I guess, metal. To create the.
I'm gonna take it in my fingers and look at it and say, so you think they're out there right now when they're watching us?
Possibly.
I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna look to the different cars, and I'm gonna kind of take a run and like leap from one car to the one in front of it if they're close enough together. And I'm gonna yell, "Hey, you sneak thieves, sons of bitches! This is Tina. Show yourselves!" Then I'm gonna try and like challenge them, like, no sneakery here. You've got Tina to deal with. And
so you're triggering your move?
Yeah. So I'm gonna roll. What are you waiting for?
Go for it.
5. It goes very poorly. I'm gonna add an XP for a failure. And then Josh, you have a 5 to contend with.
So on a 5, there's some cost to you, basically, right?
it generally opens you up to the hardest or whatever you want to do to me. I mean, an arrow could come flying out and there's some mocking laughter. The cart could stop and I could tumble down, and I mean, you can do it whatever you want. If nothing is immediately, like if you have something like, oh, like she totally needs to get hit in the face with a boulder, then do that. If not, choose randomly from that D12 list of GM moves. And just choose one of those and figure out how to make that work. I like to actually have a D12 there, roll it, and just challenge yourself to make whatever the result is interesting and painful.
I will roll a D12. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah. Okay. So there's a beat. There's another beat. Just a few seconds go by. The carts have stopped at this point because you laid out your challenge. Everybody's kind of quiet. They're like waiting to see what's going to happen. And you hear quick from each side of the middle cart, from probably 20 feet to the right, 20 feet to the left of the middle cart. Just quick rustling through branches and just footfalls of a four-legged type, flying towards each side of the cart. The horse on the middle cart, it's one horse that's pulling it, rears back, turns to the side, and cuts between the two of you. So now one of you is on each side of the cart.
Nice.
You look to the side, and you see where that buckle came from. Usually you just see goblins riding on wargs one at a time. These ones have fashioned out of crude leather saddlebags, almost little side carts. So there's one goblin on the back kind of steering the warg, and there's one on each side in a saddlebag with spears. Almost like they're ready to either throw or almost joust, headed straight for each of you.
Very cool.
So each of you are contending with a warg with 3 goblins on its back.
Okay.
Bearing down on you, probably 20, 25 feet away at this point, and moving fast.
So let me, while Jessica kind of thinks of a response, let me just offer a little guidance here, and then I'll back off until you ask for things.
No, I want guidance as much as I can.
We want to avoid initiative here, right? So you present a challenge, and maybe you even say, like, here's what they're doing to you, Jenka. One is rearing back to throw the spear. The other one's holding it to see what you do. They're close. Like, what are you going to do about that spear? That prompts her for some action.
Okay.
To actually respond to an immediate threat. But you haven't yet hit her with a spear, so she gets to react. Maybe she fires a magic missile at it to stop it from getting the throw off in the first place. Maybe she defies danger, whatever she's doing. And then don't have her just do one thing. Let her play through, like, picture you're shooting a movie. You don't, like, after every punch, throw to another character. Right. Let her have a few moves go in there. And when it gets to an interesting point where she's done kind of a satisfying amount of stuff, but she's still in a little danger, there's like a mini cliffhanger, then you cut to me and you do the same thing. And that way there's that little bit of tension building, kind of that transition of scenes.
Okay. Well, let's start with you then, Andrew, since you can, we can kind of walk through this together.
Okay.
As you, your eyes are, you may not be the brightest person in this caravan, but you're smart when it comes to battle. Your eyes catch details that other people might miss. And you notice on the back of each one of these spears, there's a rope tied to it. And you see as the warg is bearing down on you, and the rider that's driving the warg lifts the spear to throw at you, the other two aren't aiming for you. They're aiming this way, each at a different cart. with their spears. And as he's
Okay.
coming for you, the rider throws a spear. The other two throw each out, one to the right and one to the left.
I think what I'd like to do is to try and defend, so that I'm picturing like the caravan is made up of 6 carts going in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
If I protect the backmost one, they can take off in the first one. But if I protect the first one, it'll be in the way of the back one, even if they kind of hook onto it.
Sure.
And so I'm going to try and defend the front one. I'm going to basically try and I have that cart come between me. I'm going to grab onto the cart and pull myself up and just try and bat the spear away from going into the cart. And I'm angling for something like rolling the defend move.
Okay.
As long as you stand in defense, when the thing you defend is attacked, you may spend 1 hold or hold 1 for 1. Depending on how many hold I get, I might try to take the wait a minute here. No, I thought on defend there was an option that you could have the attack hit you instead of the thing that you're defending. But let me double check. I might be misremembering that. Yeah, this isn't right. For some reason, the defend move doesn't say this. But if you look at the defend character sheet, there's another one. You can redirect an attack from the thing you defend to yourself.
Yep, I see that.
I'm not. It says. I'm not sure those details. I'm going to add that into my thing. Oh, it looks like it only has 3 bullet points there. The other one's a +1, depending on scaled. Yeah. I need to add this in as a. So yeah, I'm going to try and roll defend. And what I'd like to do is at least spend 1 hold to like have the attack hit me instead of the cart.
Okay.
So there's my defend.
Cool.
So I get 1 hit. Yeah, so I'm going to bring that attack in. And so for you as the GM, I ignored 1 attack that was coming at me. So that probably hits me. And then the second attack, I bring into myself as well.
All right. Go ahead and roll 2d4.
And attacks from multiple opponents, what you do is you take the base attack bonus and then you add +1 for every additional attack.
That's right. Then roll 1d6 +1.
And so I suffer 2 points of damage, but I do have 1 armor from my my move, unencumbered, unharmed. And so I take 1 point of damage.
So the spears come at you. The one that's actually aimed for you glances off you. I mean, you feel the impact, but it doesn't hurt you. It just harmlessly kind of hits your ribs and falls to the side. It's not a sturdy weapon. But you think you actually are hurting yourself more than anything by throwing yourself in front of this other spear, and it catches you in the forearm. Just it nicks you, does a point of damage. Nothing serious. The other spear chunks into the cart behind you, and you see the goblin stand up, kind of side saddle on the back of the warg, and he's got almost like a little winch crank on his belt buckle, and he starts cranking himself in and rappelling up to the cart.
I think what I'd like to do is I've got the 2 spears that kind of hit me. One of them glanced off. I want to try and catch that rope, and the one stuck me. And I'm picturing like at first when you said cranking, I was picturing like reeling in a big fish. Although I know he's not. He's kind of rappelling up.
He's reeling himself in, basically.
I'm picturing like I'm now the angler. I'm trying to stop the warg, pull it off balance, just tumble the whole goddamn thing over by like sinking my feet in and go and so I don't know if it would be like a defy danger strength. The danger is that like the guy's going to get up on the wagon and they're going to keep their footing. I'm going to try and power through it, rip it down.
So, and just so you're clear what's happening, the one who up is like has leapt off the warg to do that.
Okay, so he'll get up there. I'm not stopping him. But the one on the warg itself, and the one in the saddlebag that like speared the other wagon.
Mhm.
I want to rip them down to their feet.
Perfect. Roll your Defy Danger strength.
Okay, so rolling Defy Danger, and when you roll Defy Danger, because it can be any attribute, it prompts me to choose which attribute I'm using. So I chose Strength,
You get more XP.
and I get more XP. This is not Tina's day in the sun.
So I roll a D12 again, or I can just decide something.
Or you could just say they straight up do damage to me. I think I'm fighting at least 3 opponents, so a warg and 2 goblins. Like they might just deal damage, unless you have something more interesting to do. Interesting is always better. They might drag me. I might rip, and you say, you know what? They drag you. You take the damage anyway, and you get dragged away from the combat, and that's a good cliffhanger to cut to Jessica.
Yeah. So I think we're going to kind of split the difference. You try to pull, and you underestimate. I mean, you're very strong, but you underestimate the strength of this beast that's carrying these goblins. And as you pull, you notice that, again, your keen eyes, that buckle you found was part of almost like a breakaway harness, and that's how the first goblin was able to jump off and start cranking himself in. If luck would have been on your side, even failing, you would have pulled this breakaway harness and this goblin would be flying towards you, but it's stuck. So you pull and they pull back, and you're pulled off the cart, tumble, roll. And the spear's actually yanked out of your hands as they kind of do a 90-degree turn and start to head towards the front cart.
Okay. And I think taking some damage there too. I was throwing myself in front of the pain train.
Okay, let me see what I think their class damage is 1d6. Or not class damage, I think their monster damage, whatever it is. Or would it be for the warg? Let's do 1d6.
Okay. So I didn't take damage, but I might be bruised up, cut up. I might be bleeding. Like there's all sorts of cosmetic shit going on.
Well, and more than that, your pride is hurt. I mean, you're in this for fame. You're in front of the whole crew of these youngsters, these farmers' kids. You know, it's not important people in your eyes, but you've been talking a big game for days, and this is what they're seeing.
Yeah, that becomes important to Tina. I'm going to mute myself, but I'll be listening in while I go get some iced tea.
Okay.
And Tina is just covered in mud and probably sees like them looking at her, almost laughing. Like,
well, this is the realest thing that these kids have ever seen. So they're not laughing. They're actually probably kind of shitting their pants because the most scary, largest person here just got knocked on her butt.
True that. Very good.
So they feel like they're in trouble. All right, shifting over to Jenka.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing a similar sort of scene. You see a warg heading towards you. The rider lifts up on the reins, kind of stands up in the stirrups, and raises a spear. He's not looking at you, though. He's looking over you. And then the other two are both lifting their spears to throw again at like a 45-degree angle at the cart in front of you and behind you. And you're right next to a cart.
Okay. I'm going to try to dodge out of the way from the cart. So that way when they do throw their arrows, they don't hit me in the process.
Okay.
And then so that would be...
I think that would be
danger, right?
Defy Danger Dexterity.
Okay. So don't know if I'm doing this right, but we'll fingers crossed.
Oh, you're doing it really right. Really, really, really right. Yeah, so you see them all raise their arms, and they're not a trained unit or anything. So they're kind of herky-jerky, each raising their hands and throw. You see them just move their arms forward to let go of the spears, and you sort of dive, roll out of the way. As sort of nervous as Tina's performance made the kids, they almost seem a little inspired by the fact that you just do like this Ninja Warrior style dive roll out of the way. The two spears that are angling to either side chunk into the carts in front and behind you, and you see goblins spring off, almost like rappelling off the side of a building, and do like an arc through the air as they start to crank themselves in like a fishing pole. The one who threw the spear in your direction, as you dive, you see he wasn't aiming for you. He was aiming for the driver of that middle cart. And he is hit. So go ahead and roll 1d6 just to see what this guy takes, what damage this guy takes.
I forget how to roll just a d6.
I think it's just backslash roll 1d6.
That is correct. /R space 1d6 will work also.
/R space 1d6.
Oh yeah, that's no bueno.
He's dead.
Yeah, so he sort of turns with alarm as he hears the rustling through the branches. Doesn't have the instincts to act as quickly as you guys do, and the spear, rusty and sort of as amateurish as it is, plunges into his chest, and he goes tumbling over the back of the cart. Actually, Tina, he lands on you as you're rolling. Young guy, probably 22, 23 years old, one of the farmhands, takes a spear to the chest and is insta-kill. He's done.
Okay.
No bueno.
Yeah, so the two goblins are rappelling up. They're about halfway up to the carts at this point. The warg rider on his own in the warg now kind of stops, starts to turn, and pulls another spear out of his he's got like a, it's not a quiver, but it's like a satchel that's got 3 or 4 crude wooden spears in it, and lifts to throw a second volley at you this time. He's seen you dive out of the way, and he's going to attempt to throw a spear at you.
Okay, I'm going to try to do a magic missile to the warg, so that hopefully it hits him and causes the rider to either fall off or buckle in some way, shape, or form.
Awesome.
So then I go to this page.
First, you want to cast a spell off the main page.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
Okay.
I got an 8.
So you got 3 bullet points you'll choose from.
Mm-hmm. And it does 2d4 damage, is that right?
Yeah. Once she chooses one of these bullet points, then she should go to the other page in the character playbook character sheet and click magic missiles to make sure that works.
I'll take the first one, and
Okay.
I still roll the magic missile though, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
And when you cast your magic missile, what kind of device do you cast it out of? Like, what's it look like when you cast the spell?
Okay. So I'm actually gonna pull out. What does it look like? So it's actually like a stopwatch, not a stopwatch, one of those old watches that they would carry in their, a pocket watch. And surrounding it is just some really weird iridescent lights that kind of light up. And so that's like my form of gun. And I just point it directly at the warg. And out of it shoots almost kind of like it's going to be like a beam of light of of the color, a green beam of light, and it just like pierces a hole in the creature.
Very cool. So you pull your pocket watch out, hold it up. The goblin gets this kind of grin on his face. He doesn't know what you're doing, and bright beam of light shoots out right into the rib cage of this warg. The warg yelps, kind of rears back, and slumps over dead. The goblin that's on his back is able to roll off of his back. He's kept the spear, and he's bearing it down on you. That's the bad attention is that initially when you held out this pocket watch, he thought, what's this silly little person doing? You weren't even worth aiming at initially. He was going to take the farmhand up first. But now he knows that you're a threat, and he's coming at you. I mean, you've essentially taunted him.
Right. Okay. Is he fairly close to me that I can maybe use my my staff?
He hasn't cut that distance yet. He's still 15 or so feet away. Let's resolve the sort of encounter with him not really quickly, but let's resolve your kind of where you are with him, and then we'll switch back to Andy before we take care of the two that are heading up onto the caravan.
Okay. I guess I'm just gonna.
He's close enough that you could certainly, like, if you charged at him, you could get to him and take a swing at him.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna try to do. I'm just gonna run towards his direction with my staff.
Okay.
And try to just like beat the crap out of him with it.
Yeah, roll hack and slash. All right, so that's XP, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on a miss, do you take damage?
For hack and slash, yeah, on a miss, it doesn't necessarily take damage, but it probably is because hack and slash means they're attacking back. You're attacking each other.
Okay.
Because you're in melee, that's part of that trigger, right? And so she's suffering the effects of attack. It could be damage, it could be a debility, it could be any other GM move. What are the goblin moves? Or whatever moves, like, does the monster have moves provided for it?
It does.
Look at those. Do any of those make sense?
No.
Okay. Then probably straight damage, like, and describe how it does something horrible to her.
Okay. So you go up to swing at this goblin. You take a swipe, just trying to tee off on its head. It's a little shorter than you thought it would be, and he kind of hunches down. You whiff over the top of him, and he just takes a quick poke at you with his spear from beneath you, basically right at your gut. Let's go ahead and roll. His damage would be 1d6. But you did kill his ward.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yikes. So I am down to 7.
Do you have any armor?
No.
Then you might want to consider a potion, or you might like yell for help. Because I have a bond that I'm got to keep you safe, right?
Yeah. So at this point, yeah, he jabs right up into your gut, center mass, kind of takes your breath away, and he like takes a half step back and just readies his spear. Let's go ahead and shift over to Andy at this point. So you're on the ground. The two goblins have headed straight towards the front of the cart. The other goblin is reeling himself up onto the back cart. I may have switched too soon. I don't know if you wanted to cry out or yell or...
Oh, no, you're fine.
Maybe as I'm laying on my back, I turn and see her charge in with her staff against the goblin.
Sure. Right under the cart, you just see it.
And take the shot.
Mm-hmm. You don't even
God damn it.
You don't even see her whole body. You just sort of see her legs, and you see kind of a shudder, and then blood hit the ground.
I think not only is she strange and confusing, but my other bond that she's always getting into goddamn trouble, and I have to protect her from charging goblins with her stick. You were doing perfectly well shooting those little magic things, and then you have that stick. So I'm kind of tied up by the two that have me on the ground, right?
They pulled the spear out of your hands, so you're free from them. You're not restrained or anything, but they are beelining up towards the front cart right now.
I'm gonna kind of grimace and let them go for the moment. I need to go try and protect Vales, and so I'm gonna try and kind of run. And I don't know if I need to scramble over a cart or if I can do like I guess the reverse of the Dukes of Hazzard, like slide under the cart, like take a run and like slide under it and pop over my sword and just try and cut the goblin in half that just hurt her.
Yeah, you're a skilled enough warrior that you can get under a cart with no problem. You don't need to make a roll for that or anything. Yeah, you can cut the distance and take a slash at this goblin, no problem.
And if I fuck this hack and slash up, then the cart rolling over me or something could be a perfectly valid reason. But yeah, that in my head as I start to move, I'm getting up, I'm cutting through it, and I'm not even stopping to look at the damage. I'm just running up to the lead cart. And in my head, like, Vales is going to see this very heroic Tina come running through. Let's see what actually happens.
Okay.
8. Okay.
Okay. So go ahead and do your...
I'll deal my damage, and then she'll deal hers.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I deal damage, it should also automatically, with this macro, include a +1 for my sword.
Mm-hmm.
So I roll d10 +1. Yep. So I did 8 damage to the goblin, and that damage, because I'm using a weapon, is forceful and messy.
Yep. Now let me ask you just a mechanical question, I guess. That's twice as much as you need to kill this thing. Does it make sense for it to trade damage with you when you basically
yes, absolutely
obliterate it?
As I'm running in, it's not necessarily that I hit it and then it turns and hits me. It could be that like I cut it in half, but it's in mid swing. Like that swing's already coming at me, and I'm just not focused on it. I'm just picturing the baseball swing through its gut, and so that sword arm is already on its way before it dies, and I'm ignoring it. Like we trade blows, even though I kill it.
Okay, so roll 1d6 damage against you then, and I'll describe the scene.
So 5. Okay. So I take 4 of the 5.
Okay, so yeah, you run, and Vales kind of hunches over when she gets stabbed, and he pulls the spear back and is brandishing it, and you just swing over her in this kind of downward arc and just cleave this thing in half. I mean, goblin halves flying in either direction, but his spear is aimed forward as you're running in it, and you just run yourself into the spear, basically, right into one of your thighs, taking the 4 damage, and then you turn and start sprinting towards the front cart. As you do that, you notice that so the goblins on the cart that was behind you guys have both now reeled themselves in and reached the cart and are tossing the drivers of the cart off the side.
I'm gonna kind of pull that spear that hit my thigh. I'm gonna pick it up, and I'm gonna look to Vales real quick. Are you okay?
Uh-huh.
Can you protect the kids?
What kids? Oh,
the kids getting tossed off the back.
Yeah.
Keep your distance, and I'm going to turn and run. And as soon as I can find the goblins going to the front cart, I'm going to try and use a spear to hit their warg.
Yeah, so that'd be a volley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I'm using a ranged weapon that does not have ammo, one of the choices on a volley on a 7 to 9 is that you expend ammo, but that doesn't make sense on a spear or anything that doesn't have ammo, and so that's not a valid option for me, even though we'll see it listed here.
Okay.
9. So deal damage and choose 1. I think I have to move to get the shot. Like I've got to get close enough for whatever you determine. I have to move to get the shot, placing me in danger of the GM's choice.
Okay.
And so I'm going to deal my damage. Now we need to take 1 damage off of this because I'm not wielding. Actually, I'm going to just slash roll 1d10 because I don't get the +1 from my longsword.
Okay. You're aiming at the warg, right?
Warg with the spear. For
Yeah.
9, and it's messy and forceful, so it breaks ribs, blood spray. It's horrible.
Yeah. So the danger that you get in is you have to run sort of side by side, shoulder to shoulder with the horses, which are starting to buck and fuss now because of everything that's happening. You don't take any damage, but it's not anywhere you'd want to stay for too long because you're sort of getting bumped around and their hooves are flying. You throw the spear. It would break ribs if you'd hit the ribs, but I mean, it hits this warg right in the side of the head, goes through one side and out the other. And the warg kind of spins as it hits it. And the one goblin who's riding it is flipped off the front and kind of skids along the ground. Doesn't take any damage, but he's disoriented. He's on the ground. The other one is attached to the warg. He had the buckle that wouldn't break him away. And so he's pinned underneath the warg that's kind of spun out now.
Very cool. I think I'm just going to trust Jenka to do the 2 in the back for now until I hear differently.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to try and calm the horses as I'm kind of running alongside them. I'm going to kind of try and put out a soothing, and I think I've never been trained. I don't have animal handling. There's no skills like that in D&D anyway, or like in D&D. But I've been around pack animals for a while, and probably in the caravans of my people, kind of nomadic tribes. We used some camels or something, and so I'm going to try and just kind of calm them down. And so the way I'm aiming is there's a defied danger here. The danger is that we'll lose control of the animals.
Okay.
And I would try and use my charisma to soothe them.
Yeah, I was going to say charisma or wisdom, whichever one you think, kind of whichever way you want to play it.
Yeah, so I think I'm kind of almost doing it's okay, buddy, and slapping it while I'm watching maybe I'm even menacingly walking toward the goblins as I'm calm down.
Right.
So I hit defy danger. It asks me what to do. I'm choosing charisma.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the horses can sense sort of that the tide has turned and who's in charge, and they settle down immediately.
Is the driver of this wagon up there?
Yes.
I'm going to wink at him and say, Tina's here. I want him to remember.
He's like, oh, good. The goblin who skidded is kind of working his way to his feet, shaking his head. You see his ears kind of flapping from side to side.
Nice.
And he's kind of on one knee and one hand. He glances over and sees you kind of just Terminator walking towards him. He looks at you, kind of gauges the distance, looks to the warg where his spears are, gauges the distance, and takes off running straight ahead into the woods. He's retreating. He's trying to get away. Made the calculation that he couldn't get to his spears before you closed the distance.
I think I'm going to let him go just to kind of turn, and maybe it's a good time to shift the spotlight back to Vales. But sure. I'll turn to stay approximately nearby to help as things go with Vales.
Okay.
I kind of half expected you to just yell at it, yeah, you better run. But
Tina's here.
Yeah, exactly. So
okay, so Vales, you see Tina run towards the front, and as she says, "Can you watch the kids?" You hear, the Star Wars, "Wow!" The yell as they're kind of getting chucked off the sides of the front of the cart that they're on. There's
right.
two of them on one cart, so each one is being forcibly thrown off by a goblin. Okay. You can try and intervene and stop it if you want to, or you can do something else.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pull out a healing potion just because I feel like I'm already at a little bit of a disadvantage, and I don't know how badly they're gonna hit me. So I'm gonna take that potion first as I'm running up towards them.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to attack the goblins as they try to get into, I guess, by magic missile again, if I can.
Okay. So how do we resolve the healing potion first? Does that I don't know how
So
much those heal.
Yeah, healing potion does 10 points of damage, and I don't know if I have my copy. Do you have a physical copy of Dungeon World there?
I don't have a physical copy. I've
Yeah, the digital. If you look at the equipment, it does 10 points. There's also herbs and poultices and bandages.
okay.
I think herbs and poultices have the slow tag, which means you need to have some time to wrap them up.
Mhm.
The potion, you just pop it real quick. So as long as she has a moment to do that,
Sure.
you don't need to worry about it taking up there's no move. There's nothing.
Right.
If she wanted to use like herbs and poultices or bandages, you
She
might
has to
say, well,
stop.
they're attacking you. How are you going to give yourself that little bit of narrative space to do it? But potion, she drinks it, she heals up to 10 points, up to full, and
Okay.
then keeps going.
And it's a straight 10. It's not 1d10.
Straight 10.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So you're good.
I'm up to 13. Okay.
You feel your wounds kind of close. Your robes still feel wet from the blood, but you feel great.
Okay.
Fast acting.
Fast act.
Acting.
So then I roll cast a spell first,
Great.
Nice.
and then
Cast
and then I
the
roll
shit out of that spell.
because I'm a badass. And then I roll magic missile again.
Magic missile. Magic missile.
Nice.
Nicely done. Okay. So you hold out your pocket watch again. This kind of dull green flash of light fires out of it right through the chest of the goblin closest to you. His eyes go blank and he just kind of slumps over and tumbles, lands under the wheels. You notice the other goblin is not raising a spear to throw at you. He's grabbing the reins, starting to spur on the horse and turning the cart to the right, to basically away from you, to try and take this cart away.
Okay. I'm gonna try to use my staff, kind of like one of those sticks that they use when they vault on top of over a bar.
It's like a pole vault?
Yeah, a pole vault. I'm gonna use that. Use it
Okay.
like that, and then try to get on one of the horses and like kind of stop them in their tracks instead of allowing them to drive them off.
So you're
Okay.
charging back in a melee. Right, I think right as Tina finished her combat, she turns to see you pole vault up to the. Fuck! I'm way in the background. Fuck!
So go ahead and roll a Defy Danger Dex.
Okay, so defy danger.
Nice. Yeah. When it comes to athleticism, you're looking like a natural. So you vault up onto the back of this horse and start to pull at the reins to try and get it to stop. And it does. It wants to stop. It's scared. It's confused. It's getting whipped by the reins by the goblin, but pulled to a stop by you. So the horse that you're on is grinding to a stop. The horse next to it, so there's two horses pulling this cart, is still trying to kind of pull away. Its hooves are scraping at the ground. It's almost like a car with one flat tire where it's kind of pulling to one side now and shuddering. And this goblin's just burning holes in you with anger and gritting its teeth and screaming at you in some language you don't understand.
Okay. Can I try to charm a person and like try to do that to the other horse that's trying to drive away?
charm person does say the person, not beast or monster you
Oh,
touch.
then never mind.
Maybe on the goblin, but not on the.
Okay, never mind. That's
And
fine.
you probably only have one spell prepared right now, right?
Yeah, just a magic missile.
Oh yeah.
You could use any of your cantrips on him. I don't know if any of them would be useful, but
Mm,
You can give the reins that you're currently holding to an unseen servant, and then go fight the goblin over the other reins. That way, you're like have an invisible driver.
oh, yeah, let's try to do that.
But it's got to be something you already have in your hand. So like it'd be the ones you currently control that you hand over.
yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
You crazy. You cray cray.
Cray. Is there anything that I need to like put in? It's like a golem or like a something that has like some of my essence on it in order to make that happen, though, or can I just?
Well, you
I
tell
think
me
there
how
was
you.
some-
Spell, but what's it look like? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Let's. Okay. Maybe with my boot, I leave it like in the on top of the on top of the saddle, and that becomes the unseen servant. And then I like hop
So it's like-
up to the next until I reach the top of the wagon, and then I'm gonna try to go ahead and attack the goblin once again with my wand in close proximity
With your staff?
with my staff. Yeah.
Sure. So I'm not going to have you roll for the unseen servant. I mean, I know we were supposed to, but it's a cantrip. You're skilled. The unseen servant grabs the reins and continues to kind of pull the horse to a stop as you were. It's not quite as strong as you are, but it's still doing the job. So you wheel around and leap towards the goblin and take a swing. Go ahead and roll a hack and slash.
Holy shit.
Was it good? I didn't even see.
11.
Oh, nice.
And read the effect, Jessica, under hack and slash.
I'm sorry.
Read the effect under hack and slash.
Deal your damage to the enemy and avoid their attack. At your option, you may choose to do 1d6 damage, but expose yourself to the enemy's attack.
So you do a d4 normally, but on 10 plus, you can do a d4 plus 1d6.
Oh,
But you get counterattacked. So you can either get a free 1d4 in or up it and maybe kill this dude.
yeah, let's go ahead and do the d6 and the d4.
Cool.
Rockstar. So do slash r space 1d6 plus
Okay.
1d4.
Slash r d6 plus 1d4.
Ooh.
4 damage. Wah, wah, wah.
Might
So
have been
you,
one at the end of that.
yeah. So you leap and swing your staff, and you hear sort of a dull, hollow crack as the staff connects to the side of this goblin's head, and he kind of shakes his head a few times and tumbles off the side, not moving. He is dispatched. So that card is stopped and saved. You're left with one goblin pinned under a warg. And there was one other goblin who is reeling himself up onto one of the carts, but he's kind of seen the state of things. And you kind of hear rustling in the branches as he's taking off into the woods in the opposite direction.
Okay.
So there is one goblin left who is not escaping and can't escape. He's pinned underneath a warg. You can hear him kind of struggling and what you would imagine is goblin cursing.
And do we know of goblins being in the area? Like, is that just kind of a threat along these roads? That's why we were hired, or is it unexpected?
Unexpected. Actually, from what you know of goblins, goblins don't live and rove in the woods. Goblins are of the mountains. There are not mountains near here. So these goblins are not in their element for one reason or another.
I'm going to go strip some of the strapping off of the harness on that warg, the dead warg that's on top of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to kind of stomp him down with his foot and use the strapping to bind up that guy that's down there.
Mm-hmm.
Then throw him over my shoulder after I'll make sure he's not armed.
Yeah,
and
no,
carry him back to where Vales is.
You have to kind of break the strap because he's stuck. Because again, that was the broken one. But you do so without any difficulty. He struggles a little bit, but he's small, puny compared to you. A wriggling potato sack.
Actually, maybe even dump out like a sack of tubers or something and throw them in there. And I'll carry him back to Vale and say, I don't know, can you talk to these little guys?
We can try.
And so in Dungeons and Dragons, there's like a prescriptive list of what languages you can speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For Dungeon World, it's really not like that. It's basically a character decision for Vales. I've decided that I can't. If Josh is cool with Vales being able to speak, that's one thing. If Jessica decides Vales doesn't, would never have bothered to learn such a lowly tongue.
Okay, let's say that I learned it. I'm really rusty at it because I haven't done it in the past. And I have like a really bad accent for it.
Okay.
So
and can maybe they could speak common also. If we charmed them or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. So you speak rusty goblin.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got this guy at your disposal. He's not volunteering anything. He's bound and he's your prisoner. He's keeping quiet unless you initiate conversation with him.
I'll need to call it pretty soon here. Do we want to do the interrogation scene now, or do we want to open the next game with that one?
I'm good to stop now if you guys want to. I mean, it would be nice to stop a little early so that if you've got any pointers or feedback, I'd love to hear it.
And there's also end of session moves that'll come up here.
Right. So yeah, this is a good time to stop. I mean, basically the caravan is picking up the pieces, tending to the one driver who was dead, who was killed, and sort of assessing the minimal damage that there is. They didn't lose any horses, didn't lose any carts. So, and you have a goblin at your disposal when we start next time we play. So, end of session. First, we choose one of the bonds that you feel like you resolved. Did either of you resolve any bonds? I know you touched on them. I don't know if any were resolved. What do you think?
I think I had a bond that Janka Vale's always getting in trouble. I must check with herself. At first, I was going to say she was really illustrating that by jumping into melee and getting gutted until I came and saved her. Mm-hmm. But then she did a badass pole vault onto a cart,
onto a moving horse,
handed the reins off to an unseen servant, and then beat the shit out of a goblin with her staff. So I think I'm going to say that one's resolved. If Jessica agrees. And I would say that Janka Vales is squishy, but brave. She needs training, but she shows promise. I don't really have much respect for your magical shit, but you're hitting people with stick. Wow, that's actually pretty good.
You might actually amount to something.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you accept that, Jessica? Is that resolved?
Yeah.
Then I'm marking an
Resolved.
XP. Okay. What was your bond with me?
Tina is woefully misinformed about the world. I will teach them all that I can. I don't think I've taught you anything just yet, so I don't think that that's resolved.
Is there any other bond, maybe one that's not on the wizard sheet, you'd want to write at this time to have a second one? Just there's a couple dynamics at play. Or maybe think about one for the next session.
Yeah, I'll think of one for the next session.
Okay. Did we learn something new and important about the world?
There's goblins in the woods, which they're not supposed to be.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that's something.
Okay. So each get an XP for that. Did we overcome a notable monster or enemy? I think so.
Yeah, an ambush that could have torn up the caravan. We only lost one person.
Yeah. I think goblins aren't super scary, but
You had a pretty novel thing on them. I think depending on how the adventure goes, like, okay, somebody's teaching them how to make harnesses and like do like complicated coordinated attacks in the woods with that. Like, I think because you made it notable, become notable.
and I may have been thinking of things a little differently too. I know we're all creating the world, but I was thinking of goblins almost in the Warcraft vein, where they're like crazy little tinkerers. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
Did we loot any notable treasure?
No.
Not yet.
I didn't think to search around. There could be room to kind of search the wards and things, but I didn't consider that something to do. If we did that, then maybe something could have popped up. But yeah, I would say we didn't.
Okay. So go ahead and mark your XP for learning something new and overcoming a notable monster. And then is that it for end of session, or do we look in? I'm guessing that neither of you leveled up.
No, I'm actually at 6 though, because I got that starting XP and I had a couple misses. I got 3 during the session and 3 at the end there. 1 for bond and 2 for the questions. And Jessica, how many XP are you at?
I'm at 3.
Roll more misses.
Okay.
She rolls plenty of misses in our game. whole level in front of me. Cool. So how was session 1?
I really liked it. I thought there was some really clever and creative stuff. I thought you responded well to what we were doing. From a mechanics perspective, there were just a couple things I'd comment on.
Sure.
For you to think about. And some of it comes down to GM style, and some of it comes down to practices and what you want to think about. When that caravan driver died, she had rolled a 10 on a defy danger to get out of the way of the arrow. And on a 10 plus, she should get what she wants, and what she wanted was to avoid that harm. You introduced a new facet, which was kind of a cool, like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Now this guy's dead. But really, like on a 7 to 9, you could say, you know what, like, as you're getting ready to jump out of the way, you realize like that arrow or that spear is going for the guy right behind you, not for you.
Got it.
Do you want to take it or do you want to get out of the way? When it's a 10 plus, she should really gets what she wants. So it could be like you jump out of the way. As you go, you realize it's going for the guy behind you, but like you can kick him out of the way too at the last moment. Like on a 10 plus, she gets whatever she's going for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it was a small thing. I thought generally, I thought you responded really well to the different opportunities. I would generally make people roll for a cantrip. Again, you can make that discretion, but the authors of the book have been asked about this a lot in the different Reddit and Google Plus. And if a move is triggered, their advice is that you always do the move.
Okay.
The idea of a move isn't to necessarily penalize the player. It's to provide a little momentum to the story. And so she could have left the reins unattended, but she wanted to cast a spell. Like that's an opportunity, like make some shit happen.
Sure.
You don't know where it's going to go from there, but
that makes sense.
If it goes badly, you get to decide how badly it goes. It doesn't have to like blow up the caravan, right? But something happens.
Right.
And then finally, at the very end, she chose to do an extra d6 damage on that hack and slash. And to get that extra d6, she exposed herself to the enemy's attack. Doesn't necessarily mean that she would get injured by the enemy's attack, but the attack would land in some way. So it could have been.
And I totally
grabs
missed it.
It could have been that he as she beats him to death with a stick, he kind of grabs it and falls off the wagon, and she's disarmed for a moment. She doesn't have to stick anymore. Like, it doesn't have to be trading blows, but something happens.
Yeah, that one, honestly, I
just
forgot that she should have traded blows.
So those three things out of it, I thought it was a cool way to introduce us. I really liked how you kind of picked up that buckle as like an introduction of like, oh, there's gonna be some weird shit about to happen. The sidecars hang off a ward, very evocative and cool. Gave us something to play with. Gave us multiple kind of targets to try and protect or interact with, or things to defend. And you put us in positions to make character choices. That's what it's all about.
Awesome. Cool.
Jessica?
I've really liked the imagery of everything. You did a really good job on that. I could actually see the picture of what was going on while you were describing it, so that was cool.
Cool. I was nervous that I wasn't drawing anything.
No, I think you did a pretty good job on it.
Good. I agree with that. And I think now just kind of look at the idea of creating fronts out of the stuff that we went through tonight. And you can think about what might be behind the goblins, or what. A big thing to pay attention to is the stakes, where you just write some questions and you don't answer them.
Okay.
Questions can be, what has the goblins organized, or, will the players choose to protect the farmers or the city's interest against the goblin horde, or like whatever you might be things going on.
Sure.
Just pose whatever questions you think will be interesting to discover yourself, and that'll help you frame the next session.
Got it.
Okay. Do we want to try and do something on Thursday, or do we want to wait till Sunday for? I know we talked about whether we're going to do both or one.
I'm good either way. I think I'm off Thursday.
I'd probably prefer to play once a week, but if you want to meet up Thursday and chat or something, I could do that. I just can't play late Thursdays.
No, I hear you. I'm good either way. I mean, for around here, 8:30, 9 o'clock rolls around and the kids are both asleep and Cassie's crashing. So I'm usually up. I'm around, but if you guys want to wait till Sunday, that's cool. And on Sunday, if you want to keep going with another session of this, that's cool. Or if you want to bounce back to Monster of the Week and kind of alternate, or do a couple of this and then do an episode of that. Whatever you guys think is best.
If you want to meet up on Thursday, maybe if it's something short just to talk, you guys can even consider getting on a little bit earlier if he's not working. Right, with the idea
I think
that
a big part of it's the dinner, and the kids don't go to bed till 8:30 or 9. Is that right?
Charlie's usually in bed by 7. Cassie's usually crashing like 8 or 8:30. The difference between me getting on at 8:30 or 9 is generally whenever Cassie's crashing.
Okay.
Tonight I could get on a little bit earlier because she was ready to call it. So I wouldn't be able to get on much earlier. But if we were just going to talk and not play, I'm good with either way.
I'd say we at least plan for an hour at 9 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay.
To shoot the shit. And, really enjoyed it. Thank you for running this. I enjoyed playing with Jessica too. I don't get to do that very often.
Awesome. Thanks for the
ever.
Thanks for the feedback. It's fun to work those kind of creative muscles too.
Yeah, you're doing well.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the broadcast.